Well, good evening. We're so glad you're here with us tonight. My name is Linda Barrow, and I'm the Marketing Enrollment Coordinator with Elder House. And we're just one of the core sponsors with ACAP, Adult Children of Aging Parents. And ACAP's mission is to provide face-to-face monthly educational programs, resources, and support issues related to adult-child caregiving. In addition, through our website, we offer audio podcasts dealing with a wide range of concerns related to aging, caregiving, and family dynamics. Now, although focused on adult-child caregivers, ACAP programs are open to all who are interested and encourage caring for one's own needs and learning strategies to help prepare for one's own aging while caring for elder loved one. And we meet here monthly here at the Baptist Activity Center. So before we get started, there's information on the table. There is upcoming program scheduled and also feedback forms that we always ask if you could please complete for us regarding tonight's presentation. All right. So now I'd like to introduce our program sponsor tonight, and that is with the Assistance for Life Care Management, and her name is Noah Alper. She's a licensed occupational therapist.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, ACAP, for having us. It's a great opportunity to share education, people in the community. But yes, myself and Nikki Zeldin, who's in the back of the room, are with Assistance for Life Care Management Services, and we do advocacy and coordination of care for adults. But we also have an occupational therapist that works with us and that does driving evaluations. So we work with individuals, caregivers, and doctors to help answer that question. Should this individual still be driving? So we're able to do a two-part test. We start out with the occupational therapy clinical evaluation. All of our tests are evidence-based, researched. So we're able to get a good comprehensive look to basically assess your risk for crash. So based on the clinical evaluation, we would determine if you would do the second part to go behind the wheel with a licensed driving instructor through, we team up with Southeastern Driver Center Training Center to do the behind the wheel evaluation. So after that part, the two are able to come together to make a recommendation, whether it's, continue with driving, maybe have restrictions, or it's time to hang up the keys and look at other alternatives. So we are not the DMV. We don't make licensing decisions, but we do make those recommendations that definitely are helpful to individuals, caregivers, and doctors to make that next step. So if anyone has questions or wants to get some information about our program, we're happy to be here and offer our service to the greater Wilmington area.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Noah. All right, so now we'll go on to our main presentation tonight, and we're very honored to have with us with the AARP in the program Losing My Independence, Driving and Aging. We have, her name is Suzanne, and she told me I could say this, Laugh a Lot Black, and Doug Kim Bai. And a little bit about them. I have Susan.
anywho, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of introduce and tell you that AARP has a lot of driver safety programs that we offer. And tonight we're going to be really featuring on our We Need to Talk program, which is having those difficult conversations when you have someone who might not need to drive anymore. And so we're going to be helping you with that. We also have a workbook that we're going to walk through that'll help you as well. And we'll give you a little statistics and research of why it's important. And then we're going to be watching a video. And because of time and the way this is set up, we're going to show the video all at one time. We usually show it in segments, but this time we're going to do it all at one time, then we'll discuss it. Please be sure to write in the chat. If you have any questions, we are here to answer those questions. As a matter of fact, we have a document that is about 6 pages about questions about this topic. So I hope we have the answers here if you have any questions about it. So being a gerontologist, but also being the wife of a husband who had dementia, and I have some funny stories about when he used to get in the car, showing up in the wrong place with his other buddy who was driving, and we had to go find them. And here I'm supposed to be an expert. Nobody's an expert, believe me. Or the time with my mother at 98, and she could not drive when she was 92 because of macular degeneration. And she used to say to me, she said, you know, I lost my independence. I lost my ability to go out and shop. Now I got to go with my husband, my dad, and he is like tapping his foot, and I'm like, you know, okay, all right, you know, this type of thing. So, you know, you look at that. Or you look at when I moved my father out here after my mother passed away, and he said, ship my car. Yes, sir, we're shipping your car. So we shipped his car from New Mexico, came out here to North Carolina to Wilmington. He was living over at a CCRC, and his car arrived. He was so excited, and he saw his car out there, but he'd been here a while. And we've been driving him places and what have you. And he said, Susie, I'm not driving here. This place is crazy to drive. It's nothing like New Mexico. And I said, okay, Dad. Well, he self-selected. That was very fortunate. We don't always have that opportunity to be self-selective like that, because men have a tendency in research to say it's status symbol, it's their independence, and they're usually the last one based on our research that do not want to give up the keys. Usually women are more apt to do it. So I'm going to turn this over to Doug, and he's going to share with some interaction about some questions. Doug?
Yes. So welcome, everyone. And a lot of you will have, there's a little card on your table there, and I really like to have folks usually write their name and how many years you've been driving. So I'm going to actually just kind of go around and ask a few fun questions. So how many people first here are local native Wilmingtonians, born and raised here? We have, okay, so we have one person, wow. So that's great. I mean, or 2 people, actually, a couple people there. So I always like to ask that because have you noticed any differences in the roads over the years?
Yes, definitely. I was there that I grew up in Winter Park.
Yeah.
And Winter Park School is across from College Road. And when I was in first grade, I walked to school. So we crossed College Road back and forth, rode our bikes. There's no way that I would ever allow my grandchildren to be here. Excuse me, right now.
Okay, so then how old were folks when you first got your first driver's license? 16. So was that more than 10, 20, 30 years ago, however many years it is? Okay, right. Well, I'm not going to say that, but sometimes I will go around and ask people, and some will say that they've been driving for 20, 30 plus years. And then I'll ask you, like, when was the last time you actually took a driver's test or was required to take a driver's test? Have you ever taken one? I mean, yes. So when was the last time you had to take one? Like
When I was 16.
6. Okay, and you haven't had to take one since.
The eye test.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting. So think about these things. The roads have changed over the years, and you haven't had to take an actual driver's test. So then how about, so have you noticed now with all the development and all the different roads and all the people moving here, any differences in the roads?
Yes, nobody will stop for a red light, they run off road.
Oh, I know.
Everybody.
That's the
Everybody
thing.
crashes the yellow light, the red light.
Okay. And then some of these roads you see they're widening them up, and these roundabouts and these, how to turn and U-turns or yield and all of these signs. So it's really important to figure that out. Have you ever questioned what does that mean? Or you just kind of follow the flow when you're driving? It's like, oh, well, or has it been curious to you to know really what it means?
I think that was the four-way stop.
Okay. Okay, so this is what this whole program that we need to talk, and all these different programs with the driver safety. We're just trying to say a lot of things have changed. Wilmington, there are a lot of statistics that Suzanne's going to share, but a lot of things have changed, especially in this county and our roads. And it's so important for everyone to know early, what the laws are, how to keep safe, for keeping us all safe at all stages of our life as we get older too. So those were kind of fun little things. And if people wanted to even add into the chat box different things, how many years they've been driving and the different things that I've brought up, that would be great. Then maybe we can look at them later on too. And turn it back over here to Suzanne.
So, wow, just
Yeah.
think, you haven't taken a test for your driving since you were 16. Things have changed, haven't they?
Yes.
To say the least. I'm from an Indian reservation out in Arizona, and I guess today was Indigenous Day, by the way, just a second. And, I rode my horse to school. I literally rode my horse to school. And then I thought, I will never drive. I'm always going to ride my horse to school, ride my horse everywhere. Not when I turned into a teenager. It was like, oh, I need to drive, to get around. But the reason why I'm just saying that is we look here in Wilmington, a lot has changed because of who's moving here. And because of the demographics of what's going on. Brunswick, anybody live here from Brunswick County? 728% in migration just in Brunswick. It's the biggest immigration than any place in the United States. That's a lot. And we're talking 50 plus. So it wasn't an accident why AARP is here. Since our membership, it can be 18, but the majority are 50 and older. So when you're thinking about a tsunami of people moving down here, you look at the roads of how they've been. Brunswick's been very rural. Pender's been very rural. New Hanover is catching up in the sense that with their Wilmington Planning Organization, they're doing some outstanding programs and things, and we'll talk about some of those resources later. But that's a bunch of people that are changing the demographic and also the scope of what's going on with our roads. So I was on a team with the North Carolina Division of Medical Services with North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles with the AARP and AAA and the Occupational Therapy Association. And we used to go around and pick places based on crash data. Where would be the best place to go to really see where we might be able to help people and their driving skills and what's going on in that area. And why are people crashing? Well, guess what? Who do you think's number one in the state for drivers 65 and older?
Wilmington?
With the most accidents for left-hand turns and intersections. Wilmington,
Yes.
number one.
Number one.
We started that program doing the research about 15 years ago. Wilmington was number one. It's still number one. That's not right. Something hasn't changed enough to really meet the demands of the people moving here. Who do you think's number two in the state?
Charlottesville?
Leland.
It might be soon. Where do you think? It's in the mountains. Hint, hint.
Asheville?
No?
Boom.
Yes. Go Mountaineers.
That's college kids.
So it's not. It's college kids, but it's also snowbirds. A lot of people from Florida have places there for vacation homes. They're not familiar with those roads. Also, the students that are coming out from others, it's kind of an intergenerational problem there. And it's usually getting too close or on a roundabout. I lived in Pinehurst for 34 years, and the biggest accident is around the roundabout, and it's based on every age. There's 289 accidents there last year because of reaction time. People trying to anticipate somebody going around and then hitting their car and, this type of thing. So just kind of looking at the demographics as what's going on here, we're 8th in the nation as far as people over the age of 65 in North Carolina, and it's growing and growing and growing. And so something that Doug and myself and others are working on, something called a multi-sector plan to address not only transportation, but other domains when you're looking at healthcare, housing, outdoor spaces, civic participation, emergency preparedness, elder abuse, dementia-friendly, et cetera. And Governor Cooper proclaimed that North Carolina will be the 10th state as an age-friendly state in the United States, the World Health Organization. That has a lot of bearing. There's a lot of funding and support, and right now we're leading the charge to write that plan. So I can tell you that this is a big part of it that we're going to have here as we age. How can we make sure people understand about driving skills, keep them up to date, prevention, help people in the where they are, and then also have those difficult conversations, but telling you how you can do it. So I just wanted to mention that right now. So Doug, did you have something you want to say? You want to say something about the meaning of driving?
Oh, yeah. So then I want to ask, so many people love to drive because like when you're younger, they started driving because, they got their license what do you love most about driving?
Independence. Go wherever I want to.
Right.
Control.
Control, independence. What else do we hear?
Yes.
Work. Okay, Dawn. Yeah.
Yes.
Fun.
Fun.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
Right. So this is, so a lot of times people, when you're talking about getting older and wanting to, like, you have to stop driving now, how will I be able to go see my friends, or how can I get to the store? What will I do? Will I, the social isolation aspect of aging is huge. And so it's a big fear for a lot of people. And so this whole, we need to talk, and the different phases is educating and kind of talking about it early, and then making it so people can make the options easier. That especially in today's world, with everything that has happened in the last couple of years with the pandemic, and the whole thing about the shared rides and the Ubers and Lyfts, but just still the fear of that, or just giving up that independence. So we're trying to do it so people can learn about it, and it's not so much that, okay, you just got into an accident, I need your keys, kind of whole thing for their dignity, to keep the dignity of people.
That very well said, Doug. We have to value the emotions of where people are and how they feel about the meaning of driving. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and show this video, and we're going to discuss that, and you're going to hear some scenarios of how it was handled and how people express themselves about driving. So what we're going to have for you all out in the audience on StreamYard is we'll be getting you this book, We Need to Talk. There's worksheets. We're going to talk about that today. So at this time, we can go ahead. Nikki, that'll be great. Thanks. Do I push the button? Oh, you push the button. Okay. Sure do.
Time I could go anywhere, anytime. Big back off the mark. Drive in, move on. What does driving mean to you and the people in your life? The key to the car can be a key to life.
that it brings of how they feel, and asking them about the meaning of driving, what it means to them, and also to make sure that they're feeling comfortable, but you care about them, and you begin to have that conversation. If you're a caregiver in the group, I'm just curious, how many caregivers do we have online? Are these all caregivers taking care of someone? Nikki?
Assuming, yes, mostly are.
So what we'll send to you are lots of resources that you can download online. There's something called Prepare to Care. And this is when you're trying to find your point person on all kinds of things, not just driving. We're also looking at the house and the responsibilities of the house. We're also looking at just taking mom to the doctor's appointment if she can't drive anymore, and what resources are available that can take her. And so we're going to get into that in just a little bit. But what we'd like for you to do, those of you that are in the room, we want you to pick this out right here. And we're going to share some resources with you. We're also going to talk about apps you can put on your phone about safe driving and how you can track people and how you can see how they're driving and look at that app when it's finished. So that's something that's a lot of fun. Grandkids love to do that. My grandkids said, hey, Grammy, let's go ahead and put this app on your phone. I said, okay, let's do it. And let's see what it does. So, we've talked about the conversations and how important that is with We Need to Talk. But we also need to look back here and look at the warning signs for older adults and drivers. And that's on page 16. So you can just skip over to that. This is something when they were talking about medications, also health issues, road conditions, what is what. So be sure to look at this book right here. And we have found that a lot of times, how many people do you know that don't like to drive at night? Yeah. So we self-select. I hate it when it rains and it's nighttime. That's the worst because of the glare. Even without the cataracts going on, it's still there. So, there's things that we do select and what have you. But, looking at some things that you might want to look as warning signs. And they had suggested, and we suggest that you sit in the car and just kind of make a mental note of what's going on and kind of check it out. But then kind of get it together, use this sheet and kind of see what is the best way to see warning signs. Are there dents or scrapes on the car? In some ways, AARP has a fabulous program called CarFit, and that's where we involve occupational therapists to look at a 12-point system to see how people actually fit in their car. Sometimes people just are not sitting right and safely when they're driving their car. So for instance, you need to have 10 to 12 inches away from the steering wheel, for the airbag won't come out and bang you in the head, that type of thing. But also, let's say somebody had a double mastectomy like my mother. We made sure we had a seat belt with lambskin on it. She could drive easier when she could. It wasn't digging into her incisions. OTs are really where it's at. They will tell you all the adaptive devices and what have you that can make you safer in your own car. So that's a program that we have. And Doug and I are going to be doing a car fit over at the senior center in, is it January?
In January or something.
On that. So you might want to bring your loved one in their car and we'll do an assessment and have some OTs out there to help out and kind of make some suggestions of how they can be safer in their car. One suggestion we do have is don't bring couples, husband and wife, because one blames the other for the scrapes on the car. But then again, you might want to. I don't know. That's up to you.
And just on that note also is how many people have newer cars, newer vehicles? Like how old is the car that you drive? How many years old? Some numbers. Okay.
9.
Okay. So the 2 or 3 years or up to even 10 or 15 years, technology has changed. And we find that 90%, not 90%, a lot of people do not know when they go to a car dealership, they're looking at this, they see a nice older person coming there, they think, ooh, dollar signs, I'm going to get you the fanciest, neatest car. They take you, put you in that car, but don't really fit you to that car, teach you about it. So it gets really overwhelming. And a lot of people, including myself, I'm not going to be there trying to sit there and try to figure each thing. I'm just going to be able to get to where I need to get. A lot of people think that way. But then when something is happening and then all that fear gets all stirred up. So one of the things that we're planning on doing too is to go with finding out statistically a little bit more like the most popular cars, what people are buying, the age demographic, and then going to the dealership and actually having a class there. So at the same time, we can kind of see like, hey, do you know what all of this is? Look how many more cars you could sell, but also how much safer people could be. So I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. AARP does have a class. It's free. And if you go to www.aarp.org/drive, DRIVE, you go into something called Smart Tech, and that's TEK, Smart Tech. The program will actually walk you through the bells and whistles of a new car. And so when you have the backup camera, what does that mean? How do you use it? How do you eliminate a blind spot with your rear view mirror and your side mirrors? What does that mean when you have this light that comes on your side mirror? What does that mean? You know, this type of thing. And what if you have lane departure and you hear this beep, beep? I have a Subaru, oh boy. I used to tell my grandkids, I said, oh, it's saying hello to the other car. Granny, it's beeping again. You know, this type of thing. But, you know, it's really a great class. And like I said, it's just look up Smart Tech, see when it's available, take it online. And we'll be doing this in person, like Doug said, but it'll at least give you an opportunity to get to know that car that's new and you don't know all that gadget stuff going on in that car.
But also at the same token, not intimidate people who don't have all that tech and make them feel like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't need to listen to this because I have an older car. I know how to drive. And then make them fear that, okay, well, I'm okay because I don't need all of that. We still want to be able to have it available for everyone because a lot of people are not tech savvy. And if we put all these resources out there, you know, Senior Resource Center is a great place because they have all these classes at all different levels. And we want to be able to offer these places that people can have all those options.
Yes. So looking at driver safety education, what a great opportunity to actually offer that to your loved one, to say, you know, there's some new things going on. Let's take this together. Or maybe you want to take it with your grandchild. We do a lot of intergenerational driver safety classes at high school. And we're bringing grandparents with their child that's getting that license for the first time. Very interesting and lots of fun, and they're helping one another. So it's really, really great. And we have a driver safety program that refreshes those skills. I mean, you guys said, what, 50 years, 40 years, you haven't taken a test? Well, we don't give you a test. We actually tell you about what are the changes in North Carolina law. And there are a lot of changes. A lot of people don't know what happens when you come up to a red arrow, and it's, do you stop or do you turn? Anybody? Stop. Can you make a right turn on a red arrow? You are not supposed to if there's a sign. If there's no sign, you can. So just letting you know. But some people don't know that kind of stuff. So we'll be offering the 4-hour driver safety class. You can also take it online, again, at aarp.org drive. The only thing is that's the only class that AARP does charge. And it's based on your membership. So if you're an AARP member, you get a $5 discount. So you're looking around $16.95 or something like that. If you're a veteran, any veterans in the group, you get a 25% off of that if you're a member or non-member. So it's really a good deal, but it's a great class.
And the certification is for 2 years, and
Three.
some
3 years.
3 years. Okay, 3 years. And some insurance companies do offer a discount. Some different states throughout the U.S. do have it already planted in there. But luckily for North Carolina, the course is only 4 hours. There are other states that's a 6 or 8 hour course. But we go through the entire about all the different laws that have changed that are state specific. So it's really, you really hear about College Road. You actually hear about what we're at, real roads that people are actually driving on and what they actually mean versus something in California or something.
So you may get a discount. Depends on the insurance company. We have legislation that passed back in 2008, which I worked on House Bill 164, that stated that you may get a discount if you take the driver safety class. It is the only approved driver safety class for those 50 plus in legislation. So that is a plus, and I can tell you, I get 10% off. That's a lot when you have 4 cars, and they're not all mine. Another story. And so anyway, children, right? Anyway, so the other thing that I'm just so excited that Nikki and Noah are working on this evaluation program here. We need that so bad for people to have an opportunity to kind of see what's what. They're offering some educational pieces as well that we've discussed, but also they're doing the assessment that kind of helps people to see what needs to be considered and maybe changed, and help that individual to kind of determine if they need to drive again or not. So kudos to you guys for doing that. We're just so excited you're doing that program.
Absolutely.
The other thing is on page 17 is getting there. So if you can't drive, how are you going to get to where you want to go, right? And so there's a series of questions that we have. Can you get rides from people? Oh, I don't want to depend on somebody. I want to have that independence to go when I want to go. Well, what about if you could use, there's an app, it's called ride sharing. And again, if you go to aarp.org/drive, you can look for the app sharing app, and you can put it down, and it'll actually find people that are willing to give you rides at no cost. The other thing is looking at the senior center. They got a grant. They started a volunteer driver program for transportation. It's very well run. Tom does a great job. You have the volunteer comes in and gets certified liability, the whole bit. And I used to do that program with RSVP, with SEMA covered their insurance. And it was fantastic because people felt more comfortable in getting in somebody's car, but you have to assess the kind of car they have, also based on that person's mobility, as well as a disability and what have you when you're doing that. Then we also have fabulous micro transit here through WAVE. And so that's an opportunity to take advantage of that when it's on-demand service. They come to your house and they pick you up and take you where you need to go. Now, that is awesome. You don't have to go stand for WAVE at the bus shelter to wait for when the bus is coming. But that is another option. Some people do take that, and a lot of people use it for their work, to get to work on that way. But we do have some transportation options here in this area. So something to consider on that end. So let's look on page 18. And there is also some taxi and car services here. There's Lyft, there's Uber. Uber and Lyft have an agreement with AARP that you can do a ride sharing with this app I was telling you about. It's a reduced rate. And so it's something for older adults, so something you might want to consider. Also, we look at private programs. Some people charge. You can actually hire someone to take you someplace or what have you. So, that's another option. On page 19, the thing that really is essential, and I have to tell you, especially with men, I'm not trying to pick on you guys. I'm just saying, based on our research, when you look at the cost of how much it to operate a car, we sit down with folks and we say, okay, how much does it cost you to run this car, Mom, Dad? Are you leasing the car? Are you still paying a payment on the car? How much does it cost to operate it? What about gas? What about parking? What about tolls? What about regular maintenance? How much is that costing you? New tires, wiper blades, just a regular maintenance, car wash. What about long-term maintenance, brakes, tune-ups, things along this line. And then you get into insurance, and that could be a little costly. Also looking at maybe a AAA road assistance, of some type, and having something like that. Registration, license plate fees, vehicle inspections, emission fees. When you add all of that up, you'd be surprised how much that's costing. And so we've had a lot of success with sitting down with someone and looking at that with their loved one and saying, gosh, I had no idea that it cost me that much to run this car. Maybe we should look at alternatives. So it just kind of gives you another conversation option to consider. Did you want to say anything?
No, I'm saying that is so true, because a lot of people are, even though they've saved for retirement or say that, are really budgeting. And then when you see how much they're spending on this, and then are, still feeling independent, but maybe socially isolated or anything, things like different adult day centers or senior centers that have different programs for not only socialization, but also these rideshare and these other programs like with AARP, they look at it, everyone looks at it as the whole picture. Not only are they getting one thing, but they're also getting another thing. So thanks.
And I love the thing about rideshare. I started a transit system I used to be in charge of in Moore County at Southern Pines, Pinehurst. And when we got our vans and what have you, I used to go out and drive now and then, just to kind of see what everybody was thinking. And I'd have them put their legs up and touch up here when they're over railroad tracks, you know, things like this. But the socialization, and they made so many wonderful friends just on the bus itself. It was just a lot of fun to kind of see what's what. But let's talk about some resources that are available for you. And I want you to make sure you take advantage of it. So, you know, I've mentioned the aarp.org/drive. There's also aarpdriversafety.org, which gets into some other e-programs that you can go online. And I know that she's scrolling it right now below right now for the live stream folks, that you can go to that eLearn and see all these programs that we've got. There's something called telematics. Anybody heard of telematics? That's kind of like another app about how far you go in your car and stuff like that. That's another one you can download, and it's just really cool. You can also go to Elder Care Locator. If you're out of state, you can go to that at eldercare.gov, and they have geriatric case managers that answer the phone, and you say, this is my zip code. What transportation programs do you have there that I could have for my mom or dad? They're very good at this. And then they'll also connect you to an area agency in aging and then to a service provider in that area where that person lives. And so they'll be able to help you find resources that are available. There's also certified driver rehab specialists, which is driver.ed.org. So if you're in another state again, you can find out what's going on. I can tell you in this state, one of the best programs, next to what I'm hearing what Nikki and Noah are doing, is over at Duke. And Laura Jewell is in charge of that program. She's a fabulous OT. I got the chance to train her on car fit back in the day. And they also take insurance. So to pay for a driver rehab on that end, that's another option. If you're looking at insurance issues, you can go to ncdoi.com, which is our North Carolina Department of Insurance, and kind of see what's going on there. And then there's an association for driver rehab specialists, as well as the American Occupational Therapy Association. So there's just quite a few other resources that you can go to kind of check into. Do you want to add something to it?
And I was just saying also with that we're planning on having some classes. There's a whole 1 hour presentation that's separate of We Need to Talk, that we show videos and different scenarios and to get people interactions to like real life stories to really discuss what's actually going on in your lives. That's also available. But we're also planning on doing some classes starting this spring at the Senior Resource Center and other places. So if you're interested, please contact us through the chat, and we'll be able to update you on those classes or what you may be interested in or have any questions for.
And then what you saw tonight was just a short snippet, like Doug said. I think you're putting that along the scrolling right now. Mm-hmm. So you can go to that, and there's a 60-minute webinar that you can stop and go as you please about We Need to Talk. It gets into a lot more detail than what we just talked about this evening. You're just getting a little overview. So really take advantage of that, and there's no cost to it. And so it will really help out. Go ahead.
No,
is that it?
That's it,
Okay.
yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to put one thing out there. I feel like my mother was a victim towards, her mental status went, and next thing you know, she bought a new car on her own. And same with what you just said, the technology and her money. I mean, it was like after the fact, we found out, why did you get this car? It rained, she didn't know how to cut the windshield, the lights, the wash blades on or anything. So she sat there until it quit raining, and getting in and out. But I feel like they should be held somewhat accountable when they're putting a senior
in a car by themselves with questionable, her mental status. I mean, it's just like after the fact, I wanted to go in there and sue them, but, so. Don't you agree? Do you feel like maybe, we can push car dealerships to make
Well,
sure that they're?
Doug was mentioning that's what we're doing.
Yes.
Yes,
So we're
yes,
gonna
that's
be-
part of it.
We're gonna be working with
Yeah.
some,
Yeah.
automobile, dealerships. I can say, and I'm not promoting this car, but I can say that when I got my Subaru, they sat me down and showed me everything, and they did not let me leave the lot till I understood everything. And I was extremely impressed by that.
Right.
Also, there's Volvos. Anybody has a Volvo in here? So Volvos are also architecturally supposed to be better for women because they're designed by women. I don't know if you knew that or not. So that's why I have a lot of friends that have Volvos, because they feel more comfortable in that car. Oh, Noah, hello. Okay, she's got one. OT, she knows. So, but so there's different cars with different things, but what a good point. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry that happened to your mom. And
I feel like it's used to that.
Yeah.
too, so.
Well, they're
It's taking
looking into
advantage.
that. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
looking into that. And that was something that was brought up when I went to San Francisco recently to visit my mom, who has Alzheimer's. So we went there and I got to rent a car and they just gave it to me and I got into that and it was all computerized. I've never seen this car like this. And I was like, they said, it's like they were in this whole row. And I said, I cannot drive this car. I'm not even going to take this out. And I had to get them and say, look, I need, I have a Kia. Let me, this. And they said, well, you want a Kia? It's like, yes. And it was a hybrid, but it was easier. And I said, this is really important. Like, I don't know, you're giving people this key going out to San Francisco right there off the highway, so those kinds of things they need to know. So those are things that people are interested in finding out.
I'm just thinking, we were in Ireland, you drive on the left side of the road, and nobody gave us direction to when the time came with our car. But no, that's a really good point. But thank you all so much for
Yes.
this evening. We really enjoyed being here. We also have a sheet on frequently asked questions when you should or shouldn't drive. It's something you might want to take advantage of and pick up. And then we also have pieces when it comes to dementia and driving specifically. So if you're interested in that information, just let us know. But thank you so much. We really enjoyed being here.
Well, thank you very much. I thought that just the conversation, you talked about my mother. So you've been helping myself and my sister. But thanks again for our sponsor with Assistant for Life with Noah. And on the table, there is information on the next events. In November, we have taking control of medicines, strategies for effectively managing medications. And that's by Sterling, is it Coots? Okay. And a pharmacist and CEO for Coots Drug Company. And that is next month on November the 14th. And there's some feedback forms on the table. Please take time to fill it out because it does help us for our next events and down the road. Okay. So thank you again for coming.
Okay, so look under your chairs.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a raffle.
Raffle.
Yes,
If you
yeah.
want anything.
Yes,
Only one person knows in here, Linda.
okay.
And I have the
There we go. Oh, no, look, Ruth has it. Ruth had it. Okay.